All that time when you and me, we had fun on the 360. I helped you go a UAV. Still could never get you at that AC. Sneaking in school just to get by you. I'm obsessed with the scent on you. Coco Chanel on your neck with your body in check. Loving all the time with you. But now you've just gone missing. You're airing all my wishes. You're online but still won't listen. My time is you dismissing. This is a nowhere two-way street. I'm playing sad and it's on repeat. Gotta me hoping you see my snap. Cause I'm not ready for us to rap. No, don't play games with my heart. Hello, and today we are doing predicting the Premier League 2021 to 22 fixtures. That's right, it's that time of the year. The Euros might be still going on, and we're keeping that on the telly, on the back burner, but we've also got to turn our attention to the Premier League fixture reveal on Wednesday, the 16th. And I do believe, if I'm right, it's 9 o'clock in the morning. So GMT time, 9 o'clock. Make sure you get your calendars sorted to fill those fixtures in, and let's have a little look to see what kind of games each club has got. And of course, Watford are back in the big time where they deserve to be, and it'll be fascinating to see who we get on the opening day. A lot of Watford fans have said, oh, I'd love Liverpool because we beat them 3-0, and with Liverpool right now, obviously they're amazing, but recently it's been like, can we play you every week? Can we play you every week? After we beat them and ended their amazing unbeaten run. And of course we beat them in 2016. Amazing stuff. The 2015 15-16 season with Igalo getting a brace. Igalo got a brace, then Sarr got a brace in 2020. But Liverpool obviously going on to win the title, Watford getting relegated. It all kind of went down the wrong path. But Watford have got back in the game. They've got back on the right path, and they are back in the Premier League. The question is, can we stay there? It's going to be a real challenge. But we're going to do our best. We've brought in Ashley Fletcher. We've brought in Quadro Bar. We've brought in Matty Pollock. And we could still bring in Raphael Borre and many others. Ashley Young might be off the table. I don't know. It's just looking a difficult one. But in terms of those transfers, I will talk more about that tomorrow's video, where we'll be predicting 4 players from each Premier League club to go to their clubs this summer. But we are doing predicting the fixtures, and this is always tough. We always just go for it, and you might say, what's the point of predicting fixtures? Well, it's a fascinating little insight, because let's see how cryptic I can be. And, I always have these little self-fantasies of when a player or when a team faces another team, going through in my head the different scenarios of what could happen, and looking back at the previous head-to-heads, the previous great games between the sides, and just kind of planning ahead. Imagine if that was the final day, imagine if that was the opening day, and that's kind of part of it. But also it's interesting to see how close I am, because obviously it is pure luck, but it's exciting. It gets you into that feel of season beginning to start. Obviously there's still a long way, still very early on in the tournament for the Euros, but you can just get a little bit of a taster on the side from the Premier League fixtures. So let's start off, shall we, by saying that each correct fixture that I get, and that doesn't have to be, say it was Liverpool versus Newcastle that I predicted, and it was actually Newcastle versus Liverpool. It doesn't have to be that way round. So every time you've got 2 teams paired up in the same game, whether that's home or away, you get yourself 5 points in my scoring system. So let's see how many points I can score. Whether I'll remember to actually react to these when I get the real fixtures, I'll see what I can do. But yeah, it's good to have a little pre-prediction. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to not go through every week, because number one, I haven't made all those weeks. That would just be sad. And number two, it's nice to kind of keep it short. So we're going to start by predicting game week 1. Now, of course, a lot of people remember that due to COVID and due to Project Restart, there was stretched games. There was a very compressed schedule. And of course, the European competitions took place in August. Now, the good thing is we're back in the normal states of the season. That will be starting in August, the Premier League. So, it's a bit of normality at least. That's good to see. and a bit of a normality would hopefully be to see a few decent amount of fans in the stadiums to kick off the season. We, of course, had that, 2 seasons back. Then COVID struck and we didn't have it for the second half of the season. But then this season, we haven't had it pretty much all season. And it's been really tough because fans are really the key ingredient. Football is nothing without them. And I know that it was not much to see them at the end of the season, but it was still a massive lift for those last 2 match weeks, even if it was limited attendance. So, yeah, it is going to be, hopefully, a much better, normal Premier League season. But let's say that in this first match week, we have the following games. So, first off, we've gone with Everton FC kicking off at Goodison Park. Obviously, current managerless Everton. They'll have to kind of get the right man in. Eddie Howe is still in a job. He's rejected Celtic, and they've still got options there. They've still got a good team. James Rodriguez has been so in and out this season, unlucky with injuries. When he's shone, he's been brilliant, but he really hasn't had it in an Everton shirt. It hasn't worked out for him. And you can say the same for Tom Davies. There's been a lot of jarry and dodgy performances from Everton, especially towards the end of the season, getting absolutely embarrassed by Man City. So they'll want to start the season strong. But who are they going to start with at their home place? I'm going for Leeds United. Everton versus Leeds. I feel like that could be an exciting game. Rafinha got the only goal in this game last season. Absolute wonderful goal. But I think that could be a really nice competitive game. Everton will want to go for the top 6. They'll want to get in a manager who's got that ambition. Ancelotti was the guy, but, he's just not been able to get the best. And when you look at that squad, you think they shouldn't be finishing 10th. They should have a much better season and, push for that Europe spot. But it's going to be a really tight one. Leeds could be a team to push for Europe. And I think that they'll go to any stadium, whether there's fans in there or not, from the Goodison faithful, and they'll make it difficult for teams. So that could be a really exciting game, I think. Second game up, we've got Crystal Palace at Selhurst Park. Now, of course, Crystal Palace this season have been one of the most boring teams to watch. There's no way around it, really. They have struggled for goals. They've really struggled for ambition. But they've done enough, once again, to get a mid-table finish and stay up. So Palace fans, I think, will want a big turnaround in the summer. They've got a lot of players out of contract. Roy Hodgson left. So how do they approach this? It's very interesting. They have to tread carefully, I'd imagine. But they are a team that historically have been, up there, but just not quite enough to get into the top half. So that's what they'll be aiming for this time around. But it will be, good to see if there is fans. That Selhurst Park atmosphere, we know it's very, very, exciting. But I'm going to say that a bit of a bitter rival from the last few years for Crystal Palace will be travelling to Selhurst Park. Let's hope it's not a too hostile of an atmosphere for Watford to not focus on the game and lose their heads a little bit. But I've gone and spoiled it for you, Watford. I don't really want this to be the fixture because it would be nice to have a home game. Now, I don't know the situation with COVID. I don't know if I'll be going off on holiday, so whether I'll miss the first game or the second game, I haven't got a clue. So I don't know if I want a home game or not, really. It'd be nice to have a home game, especially if I can go to it, to welcome Xisco for the first time in the flesh. And, see the fans back would be just such a great moment. To hear that Rookery roar again, to see that beautiful pitch, absolute carpet at Vicarage Road, and see some Premier League football. It's like it was all a dream. This championship season never happened, and we just rewound back to Project Restart and actually managed to stay up or, kind of sustain the excitement of that Liverpool win. We can do it. We can be the best of the rest, but unlike how we played in the 18-19 season, we shouldn't be going for that. We shouldn't be going for that Europa League because, you can all say, oh, well, Watford have got a class side. They have been unlucky and they really shouldn't have got relegated. That is a true fact with the squad quality they had. But we have to focus on safety this season. I don't care at all because if we start thinking about, pushing for a really expressive and, you look at, for example, Leeds, they get promoted. They hadn't been in the Premier for ages. And a lot of people back Leeds to go down. I thought they'd stay up just by the skin of their teeth. Turns out they made it a lot more comfortable in ninth. But, it's all very well having that kind of unheard and untested style that Marcelo Bielsa did. You just throw him straight into the heat of it. But I don't think Leeds will have second season syndrome, and I think Watford shouldn't try something new and risk it. Just go into this with hunger, with attitude to get over the line, rebuild the season after, and then see what we can do. Maybe get a better squad, some better players, and try and go from there. But it's all about safety. A successful season for Watford this year, after coming up, will be to stay up, however we do it, whatever place we finish outside that bottom three. So I'm going for Palace away. Maybe it's just because of the rivalry. It will be exciting. Selhurst Park could be a good atmosphere, and it's not a bad away day. But as I mentioned, there's a little bit of tension between the two teams. Obviously, Watford losing to them in the playoff final back in 2013. That was a massive blow after the Deeney goal against Leicester. So, yeah, there's a little bit of tension. It could be an exciting one, and hopefully a game where Watford can get a win, because Palace have been quite poor at times, especially last season. They were a team quite soft in their approach, and they were conceding goals for fun, really, at times. Liverpool showed that. Plenty of sides showed that last season. So let's hope that's a winning game for Watford. If I do miss it, let's hope it's not too much to miss out on. Brentford against Arsenal is the next one, and this is a big call, of course, to see Brentford back in the Prem and to host their first game with their new stadium in the Premier League and face Arsenal. It would be a great day out, really, for the Brentford fans if that was the case. Now, I've gone with this one because I think it'll be interesting to see how much Brentford can go for these kind of games. We saw them in the Carabao Cup against Tottenham. They gave it a great go. But will they actually be able to cope with the big boys in the Premier League? I think it will be tough, but it'll be interesting to see, especially a team like Arsenal, who have gone through a lot of troubles in the last couple of seasons. They really are declining. They've got that youth that's exciting, but it can't do all the job. They have to kind of have these experienced heads that just sort them out and really do much better. 8th place was not good enough. So Brentford could have an opportunity here to kind of expose a weak spot, and I don't know, it'd just be interesting to see. And Brentford against Arsenal was their last fixture for the Bees in the top division all the way back in 1947. So for the Brentford fans to open it with a very exciting game with a big club, it will be a really great occasion for them, and it will be interesting to see a nice London clash there. So next up we have Wolves versus Newcastle. So Wolves obviously played Newcastle early this season. It was a 1-1 draw. Raul Jimenez with the goal, very spectacular volley and a curling free kick from is it? I'm trying to think now. Jacob Murphy, I think so. It was a very good one, and I feel like with this kind of game, it could be a nervy one, but both sides will know they'll be in threat with relegation fight. Newcastle, they made their position look better than their season was, really. At times it was just a waste of time. They kind of just weren't good at all. But Wilson, St Maximan and Willock kind of just cleaned up, really. And I've got to say, I know this is obviously another big bold statement, but I genuinely believe that if Newcastle don't keep Willock and they don't have Willock next season, maybe they'll be relegated. I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? But Watford obviously are going to be down there for the relegation fight. Newcastle are going to also, but I also think Wolves, just because, they had that period under Nuno and that was what they were used to, but they're going into an unknown quantity here with this guy they've brought in, the ex-Benfica manager. Obviously, Portuguese, fits the system, fits the criteria, and looks like a decent manager, but, he's got to have a good start. He's got to have a fast start, and Wolves got to be a much better team than they were last season. So it could be an interesting test. Two teams facing each other there with a bit of a interesting delve into the relegation battle for later on in the season. Now we've got Spurs versus Norwich. Tottenham Norwich, that will be a game that Spurs fans will definitely want because, off the back of last season, to get 7th spot, they will be disappointed. And especially if Harry Kane does leave, which I've always thought has been increasingly likely now that Tottenham aren't getting those trophies and aren't achieving like Kane should be, that he would go. But the Norwich game does prevent a good opportunity for a win to kind of take away those blues maybe if Kane does leave. But Spurs obviously have to be doing much better this season. Norwich is a good opportunity for that. And I know that Norwich will go for it in this season, but they are a team that are a bit yo-yo. They will just, be very good attacking, but just cut open defensively. So we'll see how much Norwich can pack a punch at Wembley. At the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. I'm in Euros vibes. Apologies. But yeah, it will be an interesting game, I think, for Norwich to see what they can do against another big team, just like Brentford, really. Now we got Chelsea-Arsenal. Chelsea-Man United. We had Arsenal. I say Spurs and Arsenal are a big team, but obviously that was kind of thrown out the window this season, so maybe they're not anymore. I don't know. Arsenal have obviously won the Invincibles, but still, they were poor last season. Chelsea-Man United is the next one, and I think that will be a great, great game to start off Man United's season. Off the back of a really good campaign, they did just fall short of really challenging Man City for that long, but they had a great season, and Bruno Fernandes coming from the Euros, and Paul Pogba, Victor Lindelof, a range of players are going to be rejuvenated from the Euros, and I think Man United are going to just feel they've got the quality to go that push further and go that step further. But Chelsea, of course, they got what Manchester United couldn't, a win in a European final, and they will really want to push with Thomas Tuchel to go for that title. So in that respect, it's a bit of an early title contender. So that could be really exciting, and of course, we've had some great moments between Chelsea and Manchester United of the past, and it is a bit of a staple, a big six game that could excite the people. So yeah, I've gone with that one. Aston Villa Leicester is next. Now these teams are the underachievers the underdogs of the last few seasons. Leicester, of course, the biggest because they've been in fantastic form in the last few seasons, and maybe just don't call them underdogs anymore. They've just solidified themselves in that top six. What an absolute unbelievable season under Brendan Rodgers, and the fact they didn't get top four again like last season is criminal, really. But winning the FA Cup, that Leicester team is really, really good, and I think Brendan Rodgers, unless of course he is attracted by another club, I think that he could do once again really good things there. So that is an interesting test for Leicester, a test that obviously away to Villa is always an interesting one. Villa obviously in the past have been a big club that haven't been good enough to kind of sustain their time in the Prem, but they've done enough to do that last season, 1920. But this season that just passed, they were unbelievable. They were stepping up it a gear, and these two teams could be fighting for that kind of best of the rest category. So really competitive one here, and I think this Midlands derby could be quite a tasty one. Brighton versus Liverpool is my next one. I've predicted this because I think that Brighton, they need to be realistic, and I think that Liverpool is going to be a tough test, but they have just beaten Manchester City. Can Brighton do it? Well, they need to get a striker that's going to score goals, but I think Liverpool, to kind of go here and go to the South Coast will be feeling confident of a win to kind of start their season a lot better than it was last season. Obviously, they started with a win, but it was nervy against Leeds, and then they got beaten by Villa. There was a lot of problems for Liverpool. So if Van Dijk is back, if Thiago is back, and Wijnaldum gets the right replacement for Liverpool, then Liverpool could really be strong this year. And Brighton is a good opportunity to get a win on the opening day. So yeah, you got a favourite for Brighton, because obviously they have defeated big teams before, but also it's a nice day out to face a big team like Liverpool, and equally for Liverpool, it could be a really interesting game on the South Coast. And the final two games I've predicted for the opening day, Man City versus Southampton. This is obviously the Citizens against the Saints. Now, I feel like this could be a bit of an interesting one in the fact that they've lost 2-0. They've lost 9-0 in consecutive seasons, Southampton, the last two seasons. So if Man City go into this thinking, I tell you what, we're just going to rip up the rule book and we're literally going to break records after, defence of the title, then it will be amazing. And obviously Southampton have done a good job against defending champions before. They beat City in the restart. They could cause an upset, but City at home will feel confident of maybe another 9-0. Who knows? But yeah, that could be a fun game to watch. Redmond and Sterling up against, people like Edison and, all right, maybe Fraser Forster is going to struggle, but it could be a really interesting game there. And finally, West Ham versus Burnley is what we've predicted, because I think this is a kind of competitive game. Burnley are going to want to stay up once again, but they weren't great last season. They are a solid Premier League outfit. West Ham are actually now looking really good, but will that Europa League games in the season cause them a bit of fatigue? Well, Burnley know all about that, but it will be interesting to see, will West Ham drop back to their original selves and be in a relegation battle, or will they sustain this kind of top six push? Well, Burnley certainly need to be getting higher than this last season. So I think Burnley could go for this one, but West Ham obviously will be loving life at the London Stadium, blowing the bubbles and getting the atmosphere ranked up. So that's my opening day predictions. Everton versus Leeds, Palace versus Watford, Brentford versus Arsenal, Wolves versus Newcastle, Spurs versus Norwich, Chelsea versus Manchester United, the biggest of rivals, Aston Villa Leicester, we have Brighton Liverpool, Manchester City versus the Saints, and West Ham versus the Clarets. Right, now let's move on to week 2 of my predictions. So Watford's first home game of the brand new season, I think, will be Wolverhampton Wanderers. Now, you ask, why Wolverhampton Wanderers? Well, I think Watford versus Wolves will be week 2, because if you look back at previous Watford, seasons, and especially when you look at, being in the Premier League for the first time in the last 2 seasons, because we've been in the Championship. So you've got 2006, you've got 1999 or something. I'm trying to think about it now. 1998 or something like that. And also, obviously, 2015. All those occasions where Watford are back in the Prem, they play their first home game, and they face teams beginning with W. So in 1999-98, or around about that, it was Wimbledon at home for the Golden Boys. In 2006, it was West Ham at home. And obviously, we faced West Ham at home in our third game of the season, last time we were in the Prem, 1920. But the last home game since Watford had been previously in the Championship and then back in the Prem was West Bromwich Albion. So you got a trend here. You got teams beginning with W. So maybe that trend carries on. I think Wolves, like I mentioned, are a team we can get at. They are lacking confidence from last season. They've got a new manager. Could take them a while to get into the groove. So Watford could have a chance here of a win. So Watford versus Wolves is what I'm going with for another home W opponent. Anyway, now we move on to the second game of week 2 that I've predicted. And for this one, I've gone with a little bit of Southampton versus Chelsea. I've gone with that because I think that Southampton will have a home game. They do also usually get unlucky, Southampton, with their fixtures early on in the season or late on in the season. And I think that Chelsea, obviously, off the back of that home game with Man United, they'll go, in my opinion, to the South Coast. The third game to predict is going to be Leeds against Brighton. That's my third game that I'm predicting. Then we've got West Ham away. So it will be, instead, Norwich City versus West Ham. That's my second game for the Hammers and the Canaries. Now we've got the next game being Arsenal at home. And they're up against... Who is it? It is No, I'm joking. It's not Brentford. They've played already. No, it's going to be Aston Villa. Aston Villa at home for Arsenal. All right, now we've got the game between Newcastle and Everton. So Everton travel to St James's Park. We've then got Burnley at home, and they're facing the team of Manchester City. Burnley versus Manchester City. Then we've got Liverpool at home against... not Wolves, we've done them. Yeah, why not? Liverpool versus Tottenham. Very interesting there. Leicester will be at home in their game against... Have we done Chelsea yet? I don't think we have. No, I think we did. Did we do Newcastle versus Chelsea? Possibly we did, yeah. No, Newcastle v Everton. So Leicester versus Chelsea is what I'm going with. I think. Yep. And Liverpool versus Tottenham. Manchester United will be at home. And I'm going for them to play up against Brentford. If I haven't already done them, I don't think I have. And I think that wraps it up. So that is my 10 fixtures. Leeds, obviously, will be playing with Brighton. Watford versus Wolves. Arsenal against Aston Villa. Norwich up against... who are they up against now? I've forgotten. Oh, dear. Oh, yeah, West Ham. Manchester United up against Brentford, I do believe. Yep. Manchester United versus Brentford. We've got Leicester versus Chelsea. Liverpool against Tottenham. Southampton against... or did we have Southampton against Liverpool? We might have done, to be fair. Yeah, we did. All right, no worries. We'll stick with Southampton versus Liverpool. So instead, we'll have... No, it can't be Southampton v Liverpool. No, I'm not having that. Southampton versus... I probably should have written these down, to be fair. All right. Anyway, let's just highlight these so I actually remember. So Leeds against Brighton. I remember that. Watford against Wolves. Arsenal against Aston Villa. Newcastle against Everton. Yeah, that was it. Newcastle v Everton. Norwich against West Ham. Manchester United against Brentford. Yeah, Man United v Brentford. Then we had Leicester against Leicester against... Who is Leicester against? Oh dear. Was it Tottenham? No, Chelsea. That was it. Chelsea. Leicester versus Chelsea. Liverpool against... I don't think we've done Liverpool, to be fair. Well, in that case, I think we'll do... Oh, no, we did. Liverpool versus Tottenham. Yep, got it. Southampton against... Oh, the thing is, we've done Southampton versus Chelsea and we've done Leicester versus Chelsea. All right, scrap that. Southampton versus Chelsea. I'm sticking with that. I'm not having it. And then instead of Leicester versus Chelsea, we'll say Leicester versus Man City. Ooh. And then we've got, Liverpool versus Tottenham, Southampton versus Chelsea, and finally Burnley versus Palace. We're done. We got there in the end. So that's week 2's predictions. And now we're going to get to week 38. We're just going to leave it at the 3 weeks there. The first day, the second day, and the final day. Let's say Burnley versus Aston Villa on the final day. They get a home fixture at Turf Moor. Chelsea against Southampton. The Blues against the Saints. That doesn't work. Oh, you absolute noob. How has he done that then? Deary me. It's an absolute nightmare from me. I mean, that just doesn't make any sense, does it? How can Brentford... No. How can Chelsea be playing Southampton? No, that doesn't make sense. All right. We're going to go back to what we said. It's Leicester at home versus Chelsea. And then it's Southampton at home versus Man City. We're going... No, Man City doesn't work either. All right. Southampton versus West Ham. And Southampton versus West Ham and Chelsea versus Leicester. Leicester versus Chelsea, that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. It's Palace then versus Liverpool. Liverpool versus Palace. Right, we've sorted it, people. We've sorted it. Right, let me just recap because I get it's going to be confusing. So we wanted to get this right. We've stuck with it. Week 2, we've got Leeds versus Brighton, Watford versus Wolves, Arsenal versus Aston Villa, Newcastle up against Everton, Norwich against West Ham. Well, we've already done West Ham. No, that's not right then. No, Norwich against... Who have we got him against then? Oh, that was it. Right. Liverpool versus Tottenham. And therefore it's Norwich against Palace. No, that can't be right. That's not right either. Right. I'm getting confused now. Southampton versus Palace. Ah, okay. Right. Yeah, I got it. I got it. Relax. Burnley facing up against Manchester City. Yeah, definitely. West Ham away. Yeah, Burnley versus Man City. West Ham away to Norwich. Southampton versus Palace. Liverpool versus Tottenham. We're sticking with that. Leicester versus Chelsea. Manchester United versus Brentford. Norwich versus West Ham. Newcastle versus Everton. Arsenal against Aston Villa. Watford against Wolves. And Leeds versus Brighton. We're done. Okay. Whew. Got there in the end. Now, finally, week 38, we said Burnley versus Aston Villa. Chelsea versus Southampton. That now works. Wolves versus Tottenham. I've gone for it. Brighton versus Brentford. Everton versus Manchester United. Man City versus Liverpool. Oh, imagine that on the final day. Title decider. Arsenal versus Norwich. Leeds against West Ham. Leicester against Watford. And Newcastle versus Crystal Palace. Thanks for watching. I know it's been a bit long, but I had to work out the logistics of that. Bear with me. Apologies for that. But smash a like on it because we got there in the end, eh? And comment down below your score... Well, not score predictions. I'm getting into that season mode already. No, your fixture predictions for the Premier League reveal. And I can confirm that I've got a counting down clock. And the actual time of recording right now, obviously it will be later than when you see this. But for me, at least, we've got exactly 1 day, 4 hours and 15 minutes until they're released. So it's big time. It's go time. Let's see what the fixtures are. See you later. Bye-bye.